said no. Those were premeditated murder. They were quite overt, not covert. And she gave me instances of where, actually one instance where the man that killed the wife had to call the police to report himself, that he had, dialed the police to say, I have actually killed the woman that made my life hell. And that was a nurse. Now that caught my interest, and I know of course in Nigeria we have instances of such murders, but my perspective that most of those cases, they happen to be accidental murders. But the idea of having something that was premeditated murder, planned, calculated, was just unacceptable. So now what I decided to do, I had to go on the internet searching for more information. I found that very strange. And that wasn't enough. I'm not a nurse, but I just couldn't take it. So what I had to do was to search for organizations that were involved in domestic violence, and I found NANA. Now that is the National Association of Nigerian Nurses in North America. Now, basically, NANA was actually created as a reaction. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Not very well? Is that okay? A little bit? Okay. Now, NANA, I'm just like a robot now. So, NANA was created as a reaction to those series of murders in 2008. And since its birth in 2008, it has diversified to encompass a range of other activities under its wings, and involved a lot of goals. Now, those goals are channeled towards dealing with issues relating to nurses in Nigeria as well as North America, and dealing with health issues in Nigeria in particular. So, regardless of the extension of NANA, it has continued to keep domestic violence at the center of its agenda. Now, in so doing, it has actually established a National Domestic Violence Committee, and it has state chapters across the United States, and each state chapter has a domestic violence committee. Now, the whole idea of that is to use that committee as a channel to say no to domestic violence, and in particular, intimate partner violence. Now, it has, the national body, the committee has, a range of strategic goals, things that they want to achieve, one of them being education and awareness, getting involved in the community activities, legislation and regulation. If there's a way to change policies and legislation for the betterment of women, that would be great. The organization is also, the committee is also involved in research and data collection. Of course, Stella's presentation illustrates some of the findings of based on research that she has conducted in relation to domestic violence. Now, NANA has also continued to put that into practice in many ways. It's a relatively new organization, but they're doing very well. We have what is called Father's Day, which takes place, I think it's in June or July. Now, what that is all about is actually to bring the family together, to give credence to men. Since NANA came about, there has always been that accusation from the men that it's an attack against men, right? So as a way of involving men into the whole scenario of trying to create awareness, men are also celebrated. In other words, what we're trying to do here is to say there are men out there that are good fathers as well. There are good husbands. Yes? There are good role models. There are good companions and soulmates. So we use the Father's Day celebration to celebrate those men and give them recognition. So what that involves, it's a combination of formal and informal gathering where the family is, the families are brought together with the men giving recognition. Now that doesn't remove the fact that we still have to do something about domestic violence. So that's one way NANA illustrates in practice what they are doing. Another way, of course, we know that October is a month for celebrating or giving awareness to domestic violence nationally. And NANA recognizes October as well and associates itself with October, engaging in a lot of activities. Now, all through the calendar, different months, there are different activities that are taking place. NANA is also very much involved in family activities, engaging with community organizations, engaging with community organizations as well, family activities, youth activities, and so forth. I'll be rounding up in a minute. And so forth that NANA is involved, it's also involved in. So these are just a few examples of what NANA is doing. Now, very importantly, there's so much to be done, so much to be done. And we in academia, myself and Stella, we place a lot of emphasis on research and information. We know very well, based on popular knowledge and what we know by the media, that we have a number of nurses that have been killed by their spouses. We know there are other instances of horror stories where women have been harmed, previously harmed by their spouses. But that's all we know. We haven't got the evidence-based sort of research to give as a tool to ask for grants, to ask for campaign for money or create awareness. So we are calling for funds, and we would like some people to actually join. I'm not a nurse, but I'm a member of NANA. Now, we need money, we need funds. You don't have to be a nurse to join our organization, for anything, to actually promote this idea of protecting the interests of women around the world. Not just in America, not just in Nigeria. Especially Africans, Africans are very much marginalized in that scenario. So we are asking for funds. We would like to do more research to understand the prevalence of domestic violence. How are our children affected as well? Nobody talks about the children as well. That are damaged by these instances or incidents of intimate partner violence. We would also want to know what happens to the perpetrators. What about the victims? Where did they go? Do they seek this the assistance of domestic violence services? Do they go to the police? Where do they go? So we need to do some sort of research, and with research we'll be able to acquire grants from government grants or foundation grants to be able to put forth our agenda. So what we would like to do is actually campaign, engage community organizations and campaign and bring awareness to domestic violence. And NANA also would like to move beyond the United States to take the mission to Nigeria. Of course, Nigeria is the bedrock, is the root of the patriarchal the mindset that feed into IPF in intimate partner violence in the United States. Now, may bring to mind that, of course, there are other immigrant communities here that come from patriarchal societies, like the Asian communities and the Hispanics. Now, Asians are by far more conservative than Nigerian Africans, I think so. But they have fought so hard, very, very hard, to bring their own problem to the limelight. Now, I remember when I was in England, I don't know if you've heard of what is called honor killing. Have you heard of honor killing before? Mm-hmm. No. In England, there were instances where fathers killed their daughters because they refused to marry the man that they recommended arranged marriage. So that led to a lot of mothers, men killing their daughters. Now, it got to a point the Asian community could not take, the women in particular, of course, had to make some noise. And it became legislation. Now, the government had to take it seriously to deal with honor killing as a specific, distinct category of murder. This is what we need to do. Now, here in the United States, we have Asian communities, rally around, protecting their own. They have community centers and so forth, dealing with culturally specific services, providing advocacy, providing awareness and education, providing shelters for women who are abused and their children, self-determination for women and children as well. This is what I'm calling for, so please, we should not just gather today, eat, and enjoy our meal and then go home. Something needs to be done. There is an urgent need. It's very important that we take this matter seriously. One way you can support us is to support NANA. Even if it means joining or signing up as a member, that would be great. We need the funds to bring awareness to this problem, to figure out ways of dealing with this issue. All right, so I'm sorry that the LSLC has left. For those of who are from Nigeria, could you take our cry back home? Yes? So when you go back to Nigeria, tell them we are crying, and take our cry back home that we need something to be done, and whatever happens here is actually has its roots in Nigeria. So at some point, we're going to bring this issue to Nigeria to find a way of dealing with this. It is unacceptable. Violence is unacceptable. We have to say no, no, and no. Okay? Thank you.
What is your website again? Your website. I need you to say it into the camera.
What's our website? Nana.org. Please, www.nana.org. Please support us, okay? That would be appreciated. Thank you for